Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you, and peace out to the rest of you, black heart, black mind, black in. Again, hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I'm going to make this quick, y'all. I don't want to tie y'all up real long with this. Here's the deal. This is part two because in catching up on August 13th, part one, I forgot to mention something. There are two manifestations of this war that women are waging on us that I didn't cover last time. One, when a mother does what we've seen some black moms do when their sons are then attributed paternity to children that are actually not theirs, told that their fathers are children that are not theirs. We've seen instances, one fictitious, one real, in which black mothers of these sons will say to them, go ahead and take care of that baby. We've seen that. What I wanted to tell you is that when a woman does this to her own son, nephew, grandson, younger brother, any of this, when a woman does that, she's working against her own genetic legacy. Keep that in mind. So what motivates a woman to work against her own genetic legacy in order to do something like that? I'm going to tell you what that is. Arrogance, hatred for men, and sympathy for the woman that couldn't keep her vagina limited to one man. Be it the husband or just the boyfriend she's telling us, whatever the case is. Whoever had a reasonable expectation of exclusive access to them drawers is deemed to be the genetic inferior by the woman that's engaging in paternity fraud and dual mating strategy. And that's an act of war. But the women in his own family that are co-signing on this are also engaged in the same act of war against that man. Now, that means that a woman is acting against her own DNA when she does this. So, whatever the motive is for that is nasty. But more than likely, it's going to be that they sympathize with the thought, because at heart they're thoughts. A lot of women that ain't HOEs in practice still sympathize with them and want to do that stuff. Aisha Curry, Toni Braxton. That's all I need to say for now. That's the end of it. So understand that's an act of war against you, even if your relatives do it. I mean, I don't think your cousin gonna bring you a baby and say it's your baby when it's not yours. Chances are you're not gonna do that with your cousin anyway. Point I'm making is that if your cousin or your mother comes to you and tells you, go ahead, take care of that baby even though it's not yours because that baby needs somebody. You look at them and you say, yeah, the baby needs his or her own natural father. Maybe natural uncle or grandfather, but the baby needs his or own biological family for this. That's who they need. And you telling me to take on another man's responsibilities? No. See, at the expense of my own DNA, that's at the expense of your DNA. Why do you hate your own DNA so much? Put that back on them. Ask them why it is that an HOE getting away with her bad decisions is more important to this lady relative of yours than her own DNA. That means she puts immorality over her own genes. That's what that means. That's not just an act of war, gentlemen. That is at heart, or genetically speaking, a selfless, self-sacrificing act of war they're willing to perpetrate just to your detriment. That's how deep this hatred runs for some of us. I'm lucky I'm not one of them dudes, but my heart goes out to you men that had to deal with this. So if you're a man and you listening, and your own lady relatives, mother or otherwise, has ever tried to convince you to be a happy stepdaddy, go ahead and chime in the comments and tell the rest of my audience your story. Go ahead and do it. I'm asking you to. You can put the timestamp on here. Right now it's 4 minutes and 28 seconds into it. So you can start at 4 minutes and 18 seconds when I mention this. You can say, yeah, 0418, this is my story. Go ahead, because people need to know this. Now, next thing, I wanted to point out one more manifestation of this war that we'll see, and then I'm done. And I'm going to give you the good news after that, and then I'm done. Now, One more manifestation of this act of war is what we see in the prison system right now. You don't have biologically female prisoners identifying as males so that they can be transferred to male prisons, or we don't know about it. Now, whether it's never happening or whether we just don't know about it, there's an act of war involved. I'll tell you why. If we don't know about it, then it's an informational act of war of deceit. Misinformational act of war designed to deceive us men. If it's actually not happening, then that's an act of war on the part of the ladies, because all they're really saying is, simply because we have internal junk, we're better than you. That's all the hell it means. We're better than you because we have, we got that which is pleasing to men. Therefore, because of that, we will never, ever put ourselves in a situation to be accessible to these men. Not desired. We always want you to desire us, but we don't want to be accessible to these men. We definitely don't want to risk being accessible to men that may force us if we don't agree. So for all of these fantasies that they might have about grape with a silent G, they don't actually want to lose that control over men. It's crazy, right? Don't make no sense. I know it doesn't make sense to me either, but that's what it is. Understand the power dynamic. Why are the women inmates complaining? Now, we got pregnancies popping up, but why are the women inmates voicing complaints about being locked up with biologically male inmates that identify as women? What's the real reason for that? I'm going to tell you what it is. The real reason for that is not because they don't like the Johnson that's attached to the man. It's because they don't like the fact that the Johnson is attached to an inmate, not a guard. They don't like the inmate and his position of powerlessness, just like her own. That's what they don't like. That's why they're saying this stuff. That's why they're complaining. Individual women are probably going to have some complaints on a moral level or some ideas of impropriety. I don't even believe that for the most part. But understand this. That's not all. Most of the women, the pattern is the bulk of these women are actually going to have a complaint about this because they don't want an inmate's Johnson to be or they don't want to be accessible to an inmate's Johnson without him having the same power as a guard. It's hypergamy on steroids again. Hypergamy used to mean that women went across and up hierarchies, but see, in today's hypergamy, they only go up and only at a steep angle that's really inappropriate and a mismatch. Usually to the man's detriment. They insist on this. That's what it is. That's why you see these women voicing these complaints. The bulk of them for that reason. I'm saying this as a man who loves my female relatives as much as any other man loves his. But facts are facts. These women, if my own lady cousin was locked up, depending on which one, but the bulk of them, they were locked up with nothing but women. All of a sudden, a biological male with some junk is locked up with them, and they start complaining. I'll be like, hold up, what were you like on the outside? Now, straight up, tell me, what were you like on the outside? And what's your reason that you were like this on the outside? Got to challenge them too. It's like that. That's also an act of war. It's a manifestation of it. They're at war with you. Next, one more thing. I got these 2 points out the way. So next thing I'm going to tell you, and then I'm done, is that I actually do plan to go live. Sometime soon. I'm still looking to see when, but I plan to go live at a time when many of you are awake. It'll probably be in the morning, you all's time, but at a time when a lot of you should be awake. And I'm going to allow women to come in the chat and the stream and try to explain to us men from or in the West why we should still approach women in the West. Why should we? Because there are very few things I've said that have really, really, really gotten under the skin of the women that do listen to me. Very few things. But this one really gets under the... I get replies from this. I get responses from this on Facebook, on YouTube. They react to that. When I say, men, you need to stop approaching women. Used to be they would laugh like, men ain't gonna never stop. Y'all too horny, y'all dogs. Now it's stop saying that. Men shouldn't have to approach women. Women shouldn't have to approach men. See, I'm getting 2 different responses. 30 years ago, men and women would laugh at the idea. Now, 30 years later, Men are like, yeah, we shouldn't. And women are saying, stop saying that. That's a different reaction. So when I do go live at some point, and I'll announce it ahead of time, but when I do, God willing, I don't forget this because I get busy. But when I do go live for this, I'm gonna allow women to say what it is, what reasons they think, a logical, compelling reason that men should continue to approach Western women. Because I can tell you now, I can't think of one, no man can think of one, and I doubt that women can, but I'll give them a chance. It'll be one of the few times I will allow women to come in and engage with them about their viewpoints and what they want. But ladies, if you're going to do that, if you're going to call, bring a logical, compelling reason that men should have to. Because I'm going to tell you straight away, ladies, even in a traditional context, I'm not going to sit up here and say that men should have to. In a traditional context, I'd say that men have the option, but to say that men have to, in a traditional context where I live, it should not be that only men make the approach. Even here, so you're gonna be hard pressed to convince me or my male audience as to why it should be the case over there in the West. But that day's not here yet. I'll announce it ahead of time. It might be tomorrow. And in any case, maybe later tonight, but probably tomorrow. And in any case, you've gotten advance notice. And so when you see the notification that the live stream will be coming up, you'll have time to prepare, inshallah. Thank you for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out, Assalamu Alaikum, and Black Heterosexual Non-Select Male Power, just because they don't like it. And Black Patriarchy until extinction or Judgment Day.